Daniel here for Tabletop for One. Please join me at the table as I teach and play through Puzzle Dungeon. And I thank you for joining me for this tutorial and solo playthrough of Puzzle Dungeon. Puzzle Dungeon is designed by Brian Garber, and it was a Kickstarted game several years ago. But Brian actually sells these off of his Etsy site. I'll have a link in my description. This is the deluxe edition here that comes with like 400 different heroes and 5 different dungeons or something like that. There's a lot of content here. And this copy I purchased for myself. Now, Puzzle Dungeon happens to be one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of the games that I say is an essential solo game that every solo gamer should have in their collection. And it is my number 5 favorite solo game. And so there's a lot going on here. I love this game. And so let's go right into setup. Now, setup is really straightforward. First thing you want to do is choose a hero. There's a lot of heroes, and this is just for one dungeon. So there's quite a bit of heroes. Now, I'm not going to choose heroes that you wouldn't get in the base game. So I am going to choose the Paladin here. And the Paladin is a fun little hero. I'll explain all his abilities here in just a moment. And then you want to get all the monsters for that dungeon that correspond with your particular hero. See, the hero on here is going to be fighting these 3 types of monsters. That's what he wants to fight. And so you get the dungeon that has those monsters in it. Now, there are actually 5 different kinds. So you see we have this demon type, a giant, a ghost, there's the golem, and then this is like magic, so like witches and stuff. So this is the dungeon set for those particular monsters. And you're going to shuffle this and deal them into 4 columns of 5 monsters each. And then you'll grab what is called the Arsenal deck. These are the suited cards. You have swords, helmets, hands, and wands. So you'll shuffle this deck here and make sure that it's nice and shuffled, and then you'll place the deck down here at the bottom, and then you're going to draw 6 cards into your arsenal. Just like this. These will be your starting cards there. And then after that, you will draw 6 cards into your hand, and those will be your starting cards in your hand. And so that's it for setup. Now in Puzzle Dungeon, you are here on a quest. This particular quest is for the Paladin is to kill 3 stone golems, 2 demons, and 3 ghosts. And so that is his goal. Once you have accomplished this, then you have won the game. Now there are different abilities here, and it says when a monster king is defeated, shuffle the bottom 6 cards of the discard pile into the deck. And then this one here, a trophy. If you kill a trophy monster is any monster that's not the ones that he's hunting. And so it says move the front monster of any column to the back of that column. All right, so that's his abilities that we'll be using. But let's talk about some of these monsters here. And so these monsters are fairly straightforward. First of all, these icons in the middle are the kind of icons you need to defeat them. You need all of these together, but you don't need them in that specific order from left to right. It can be any order at all. So if you play cards that match these, then you'll defeat this monster. When you defeat a monster, you will gain loot. That's signified by the gems here, and it's an ability that you can use right away. And so it says discard up to 2 cards from your hand. For each card discarded, draw 2 cards. So that'll let you get more cards in your hand. I want to note that there are not normal ways that you can draw cards into your hand. That'll become more apparent as we play. So keep that in mind. You'll have abilities given from monsters to do so. Now in the upper right, of course, is the type of monster it is. And the upper left is an ability that you can use after you defeat a monster. See, when you defeat a monster, you add it to your collection over here. And then at some point, you can exhaust the monster by turning it 90 degrees there. And it indicates that you get to use that ability, which is a sword, so you can use that to attack another monster. So, like, we could use it to attack this goblin who has a sword here, or this haunted armor. So that's how that works. Now, monsters will stay exhausted unless you gain an ability later that lets you unexhaust monsters. All right, now, on the other side, we have what is called a Monster King. The Monster Kings often are more difficult to destroy, and when they're revealed, I'll explain revealing a Monster King in just a moment, but when they're revealed, this ability happens at the bottom. Some of them are passive abilities, some of them happen right away. So this one says after a card is dealt, if there are 4 or more cards in the arsenal, discard any card in the arsenal. This is a passive action that happens anytime you deal cards into the arsenal, which I'll explain shortly. But you also know that the Monster Kings have some added bonuses, so they do more damage when you're trying to use them to attack with. And so those are really nice. Now, the way Monster Kings appear in the game, sometimes they'll appear off of card abilities, but otherwise, they will appear after you've defeated 3 of the 4 of that type. You'll notice in here, there's 4 of each type of monster. So there's 1, 2, 3 of this magic type here, and a 4th one here. So if I had defeated these 3 here, then this witch would flip over to the Monster King side, and you would have to activate that ability, or at least if it's a passive ability, know what it does every time that action happens. Now on your turn, you're able to do 2 things. One, you can deal cards into the arsenal. And so you just take 1 card off the top of the deck here and place it in the arsenal and the next in the line. The other thing you get to do is attack monsters. And the way you attack monsters is you discard cards from your hand, from the arsenal, and or use monster abilities by exhausting them to defeat an enemy. Now the cards in the arsenal are in an order, and you can only use the one that's the furthest right, the one that's showing fully. Once you've used that one, so let's say I wanted to attack this cultist here, I could discard this hand because it requires a hand, and then I could discard this sword because it requires a sword. Now I just need a wand and a hand, which I don't have in my hand currently, so that wouldn't work. But then if I did have those, then I'd be able to kill it. So that's how that works. And so that's the gist of the rules. There's some other rules regarding moving monsters and columns, and we'll encounter those when they happen. And so the first thing I wanted to do is probably attack this haunted armor. See, this haunted armor says that when I kill it, I can shuffle my hand into my deck and then draw that many cards +2. So that's really nice. Now, the cards in your hand, you can use them in any order that you want. They're very useful because, again, you can use them in any order, whereas the arsenal, you have to chip your way down to use those cards. So you want to have a lot of cards in your hand. It makes it very versatile. But in this case here, I'm going to attack the haunted armor. He requires 2 helmets, so I have 2 helmets in my hand. I'll spend those 2, but then I'll spend the 2 cards in the arsenal, the hand and then the sword, to finish him off. And now he's dead. So I add him to my collection here, and then I do the loot option at the bottom. So I shuffle my hand. I have 4 cards here. So we'll shuffle this into the deck, and then I'll draw the same amount +2, so that'll be 6 cards. So after that, I still have 6 cards in my hand, and I've defeated a monster. Now again, I can use this monster to use the helmet icon on one of these monsters here. So that'll be useful. And now I have some wands, and I have some hands and some helmets, and that's really good because all I have right now are swords at the top of this. So I definitely want to use up one of these swords to dig down further. I could also use up 2 of them to attack the ghost. Also, I could, if I wanted to, just draw a card and, well, not draw, but deal a card and deal it into the arsenal. And I think that's what I want to do, just to see what I get. Ooh, I got a helmet. That was very useful. So right now, without using any cards in my hand, I can use this helmet, sword, and sword. So those 3 to attack the ghost. And then turn this sideways. Now I've exhausted my haunted armor for another helmet. And so that defeats the ghost. Now the ghost here says I may shuffle any column. And so that might be very useful. Now before I do that, I want to note that I'm fighting monsters currently that are part of my quest. So none of my abilities down here are getting triggered. Now if I fight a trophy monster, I will be able to use this ability at the bottom to move the front monster of any column to the back of that column. That might be useful later when I'm trying to fight specific monsters, especially since the demon cards are in the back. And so I think I want to shuffle this column here. So you just grab the column, shuffle it up, and then you're going to deal it right back down, just like this. Of course, that didn't really help me that much because now the Minotaur is in the front and I don't need to fight that kind of monster. So I think I want to look at fighting one of the trophy monsters, so either the cultist or the Ratman here, so I can put the Minotaur using my Paladin's ability, put it to the back of this column. That way I'll have access to the Vampire and Lich and stuff like that. But we're in a really good place right now with the arsenal only having 2 cards, and they're very useful cards because I can attack the cultist with it. And maybe, well, I don't have a sword. So maybe I should draw, or sorry, deal a card. Oh, check that out. It's a sword. So that's going to be useful. And I need let's see, I need a wand. So I will have to spend 1 wand for my hand in all 3 of these cards. So we got the sword, wand, hand, and helmet matching up to this cultist here. And so I get to attack this one. And then, so now 2 things happen. So I have my paladin ability because this is a magic monster that's not part of my quest. So it triggers the trophy ability down here at the bottom. And then I have this ability here also. So when you have 2 things happening at the same time or more, you get to choose the order by which they happen. So I don't think it really matters this time because this one says discard up to 2 cards from my hand. For each card, draw 2 cards. So I can draw extra cards. And so do I want to discard a card? I guess I could discard 1 helmet because I have the helmet from the ghost here that I can use later. So I'll just discard 1 card. That way I can draw 2 more cards into my hand. I got another hand and another wand. I don't know if that was worth it. But now we add the cultist over here, and then we trigger my ability to move a front monster of any column to the back of that column. So I definitely want to move the Minotaur to the back of this column here because I don't really need to fight the Minotaur. All right, so we are in a really good place. The arsenal's empty. That gives us a lot of freedom to deal some cards into it and see what I get. So now I'm at a helmet and a wand. And so the vampire is looking really good right now. See, the vampire ability says draw any 2 cards in the discard pile. That'll be really useful in his draw, so they get added to my hand. So I think that's what I want to fight. The question is, do I want to deal 1 more card right now? Or should I just use the cards from my hand and use this ghost? Probably that. So I'll use the ghost for 1 helmet. I have 1 more helmet here, 1 more wand, so I need 1 more wand here. And that will defeat the vampire. And again, this is part of my quest. I need to kill 2 of the demon type here. And so that's really good. And so now I get to draw 2 cards from my arsenal. So what do I want to draw? I think I want to draw some swords. There's a lot of swords in the discard pile, but there are also a lot of helmets. There's 6 helmets. So maybe I should draw a sword and a helmet just to be on the safe side because there's so many cards there. I don't want to lose the chance of using helmets when I need them. So there we go. My hand's looking really good right now. But again, I don't want to use a hand unless I have to because these cards are so useful. All right, so moving on with my quest here. I still need 2 more ghosts, 2 more golems, and 1 more demon. Now, there's 2 ghosts here, there's 2 golems here, and 1 demon there. Wow, that's going to work out really well. So why don't we look at defeating the automaton, sorry. Let's first deal a card. Might as well. It's empty, so there's no point in not having a card in the arsenal. And let's deal 1 more. I think that's a good choice. It's a sword. So that's still okay. I was really hoping for a hand, but we have a wand and a sword. I'm going to push my luck and deal 1 more. And it's a wand again. That's still okay because I can just use this wand and sword. Deal 1 more. Let's see. Oh no, it's 2 wands. Well, that's not horrible because I can defeat this goblin here if I wanted to. Now, I do have hands in my hand of cards. Maybe I should just attack this automaton by discarding 1 wand from the arsenal and then turning my cultist here. Yeah, that'll work. I pushed my luck a little too much on the arsenal there. But we gain the automaton here. And so it's another golem type. And I get to shuffle the top 3 cards of the discard pile into the deck. So these 3 here get shuffled in. Now deck's getting really low. Like there's probably less than a dozen cards here. So we have to really be careful because if the deck runs out, I lose the game. I forgot to mention that earlier. When the deck runs out, you lose. And so we gotta hurry up and finish this quest. We're getting close. And then this also lets me draw a card. So I'll draw 1 to my hand. So that's really nice. All right. So now we are looking at, we got a dragon here. I don't think I can fight the dragon. Do I have enough swords? Oh, I do. I have 1 from the automaton. I do have enough swords. I think I'm going to deal a card. Oh no, it's another wand. Well, here's the thing. We do need to defeat ghosts, so let's kill the lich. I still have 2 hands in my hand and 2 more wands. And so there we go. We'll defeat the Lich. And so it says, put any two cards used in this attack onto the bottom of the deck in any order. Okay, so that's not too bad. So I used these here. Maybe I should just do one hand and one wand, just to be on the safe side, just like that. It's good. We added it to the deck, so that prolongs our time in the dungeon here. And so I really want to attack this one here because this one lets me ready up to 4 exhausted defeated monsters. So let's see if I can pull that off. Now I need a sword, a wand, I need 2 swords. So why don't I use the automaton here? Because now that leaves me with 4 exhausted monsters. So that's 1 sword, 2 swords, and a wand, and then I need a hand. Oh no, I don't have a hand. Oh no. Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair at all. I need a hand. Oh, I guess we're gonna have to deal a card unless I want to fight something else. And then one thing I want to let you know is you can look behind cards to see what's coming up, to see the abilities underneath. And of course, any Monster King abilities that are activated are always active, even if they're underneath other cards. All right, I really want to defeat that blue devil there. It's so worth it. So I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna deal a card, and I'm really hoping this is a hand. Yes! Yes, it's a hand. So I get to use the automaton and these 3 cards here. So that's 2 swords, a hand, and a wand to defeat the blue devil. Now, a couple things happen here. First of all, I get to ready up to 4 exhausted cards, which all I have is 4 exhausted cards. So these all get readied back up. All right, but here's the thing. That was my 3rd ghosts. So now, now we have to find the other ghost, which is right here, and we're gonna flip him over. All right, so it says, move any defeated monster to the front of this column. Oh, that is not good. Well, you know what? I don't need to access this column, so maybe that's not so bad. I can just move the cultist back to this spot, and it doesn't affect my quest. So let's do that. So maybe that wasn't so bad after all. Now I do need to defeat 1 more golem and 1 more demon. And so there is a golem here and a demon here. So maybe we should just focus on that. Let's deal a card because I need more hands. I have none in my hand and I need more because I need a hand here. And let's deal 1 more card. All right, we have a hand. Very good. So I can use the hand and the sword. I just need 1 more sword and helmet. Very good, right here. There we go. And so that dragon is defeated. All right. So it's my 2nd demon card, which means that I have finished that part of the quest. Now on this ability here, it says discard your hand, then draw that many cards from anywhere in the discard pile. Ooh, that's really useful. So I discard 4 cards, right? Discard in the discard pile, but I can draw 4 cards from here. And so, hello, I draw 2 wands, and 1 hand, and 1 helmet. Yes, and then I spend all 4 of these here to defeat the skeleton. And there we go. I have won the game. See, now I have 3 of the golem type, 3 of the ghost type, and 2 of the demon type. And yes, I have won the game. Now, I do want to clarify just one thing here. You don't lose the game when the deck runs out. I mean, that's typically when you lose, but it's when you can't do any more action. So if you can't destroy any more monsters, then the game ends. But I have won this one here, and it's with the Paladin. Now, the Paladin is actually really on the easy side. There are so many different heroes to choose from. And so the Paladin can also be played on the harder side here. And so this one requires 3 of each of these. And when a monster is defeated, discard a card from your hand. When you have 0 cards in your hand, you lose. And then with trophy cards, ready 2 exhausted defeated monsters. So that is quite a challenge. I don't think I beat the Paladin yet. But yeah, there's a lot of variability here, a lot of different heroes to choose from. And they all, so many different kinds. There's a pirate one here, which is pretty cool. A monk, and then illusionist, basher, fool, archer. So lots of different heroes to choose from. And so there you have it. That was the tutorial and solo playthrough of Puzzle Dungeon by Brian Garber. If you want to know more about the game, I will have links in my description, especially to his Etsy page where he sells the game. But definitely let me know what you thought in the comments below, point out any rules errors I may have made. Please also like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content you see here. And I thank you very much for joining me on Tabletop for One. Have a great night.